Can you imagine the kind of rage that makes you smile? The kind that freezes your blood, yet your hand is steady? Because that's exactly what I felt the moment my father slammed a folder onto my kitchen table and snarled, "Sign it right now, Brenda. All $1.8 million belongs to your sister. You don't get a single cent." And then my mother, her voice dripping with venom, leaned in and twisted the knife. "Ashley has 3 children. What do you have? A pathetic job wiping dying old people's asses? This is family money. My name is Brenda, and I'm 35 years old. If that little opener made your blood boil even a tiny bit, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe, because you are not going to believe what happened after their smug grins evaporated, the wine glass shattered, and the phone call ended. I want to know where you're watching from. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I read every single one. To truly understand that phone call, and why my father's face went ghostly white, we have to go back to a woman who is no longer with us. For 6 long years, every other Sunday, I made the 40-minute drive up Route 307 to Rosewood Memory Care. The nurses there knew my coffee order, 2 creams, no sugar, whatever was still warm at 10 a.m., before they knew my last name. My grandmother, Wilhelmina Elizabeth Ashcroft, was 84, and for the last 6 years of her life, I was her only visitor. Not my father, her only son. Not my mother, her daughter-in-law. Not my sister Ashley. Just me. For her 80th birthday, I built her a music box. Walnut wood, brass hinges, a tiny mechanism that played "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" if you wound it 3 times. I made it myself in my downstairs neighbor's workshop. He was a retired shop teacher who let me borrow his tools. She held it for a long time when I gave it to her, running her thumb over the grain, opening and closing the lid. "Beautiful," she said. "I'll keep something safe in here." I laughed. "Like what, Grandma?" "Rings," she smiled. "Better than rings." I was 31 then. I thought she meant a photograph, maybe her wedding band. I didn't know how women who've spent decades being quiet plan for the day they will need to be heard. She had a special name for the Pennsylvania lottery scratch-offs, the $2 crossword ones. She called them Willa's Wednesdays. She'd won $40 on a Wednesday back in 1974, working as a cashier at Bertelli's Gas and Snack. She was 33, a single mom whose husband had walked out, leaving her with a toddler and a mortgage. That $40 kept the lights on for a month. Every other Sunday, when I brought her a fresh ticket, she'd hold it up to the light before scratching. "Cash," she'd say, "never card. And don't say my name at the counter, Brenda." Not anymore. I never asked why. I just did it. She'd hand me back whatever she won, a couple bucks, once $30. "For gas," she'd say. Even when dementia dimmed her memory, she remembered that. The last time I saw her fully lucid, before that morning she pressed 2 crumpled dollars into my hand, she smoothed down my hair with her thumb and said something that echoes in my mind every single day. "You're my quiet one, Brenda. The world doesn't know yet. My parents had a name for me too, long before I understood it was a burden. They called me the responsible one. It started when I was 8, and my sister Ashley, 5, blonde, already the family favorite, knocked my grandmother's Wedgwood plate off the coffee table. It shattered. My mother didn't yell at Ashley. She looked at me, sitting on the couch reading 3 feet away, and said, "Brenda, why weren't you watching her?" I said I was sorry. I took the belt for Ashley twice more before I turned 10. My mother still uses her phrase for those years. "Ashley is sensitive. Bren, you're built stronger." She said it in '98 when Ashley broke the plate. She said it in 2003 when Ashley shoplifted, and I got grounded for not modeling better behavior. She said it in 2011 when Ashley got pregnant senior year, and my parents pulled me out of my part-time job to help. Ashley miscarried, and it was never mentioned again. Built stronger. Built stronger. Built stronger. By the time I was 12, built stronger meant built to pay. In March 2023, Ashley called me, sobbing at 11:30 p.m. Her husband Ronnie had a new plan, a gourmet grilled cheese food truck. He needed $18,000, and Ashley knew I had exactly that saved up for 4 years to trade in my aging Honda CR-V. She cried for 40 minutes, claiming she'd never asked me for anything. She'd asked for 8 things. I wrote the check. The Hire and Grill opened on May 6, 2023. It closed on August 22nd. 5 months. Ronnie disappeared for 6 weeks, then returned with a new plan. Ashley never mentioned the $18,000. Neither did my parents. I stopped counting the loans after the 4th. This was the 7th. In September 2019, when I finished my hospice certification and left my ICU job at Geisinger, I called my mother to tell her. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, with that familiar sting, she said, "Wait, you're leaving real medicine to babysit people who are already gone? That's what my daughter is going to do." I explained hospice nursing was about presence, pain management, family support. She scoffed. "Presents? Well, that'll pay the mortgage." She didn't ask another question about my work for 6 years. Last September, driving home from a night shift, my father called. He needed $2,000 for a leak in the roof. Said my mother was really upset. He said, "If you loved us, you'd figure it out." I hung up before he finished. I said to my empty car out loud to the dashboard, "They have never once asked what I'm built for." Somewhere in mid-2024, my parents stopped visiting my grandmother. I didn't notice right away. Rosewood keeps a paper visitor log, a green spine notebook. I sign it every time. But one Sunday in September 2025, waiting for the facility director, Colleen Farrow, I flipped back through the pages. My name. The last time my father signed was April 12, 2024. My mother had never signed. Ashley's signature appeared once, August 2023. That was it. 19 months. I asked Colleen about it. She gave me the polite, practiced smile reserved for uncomfortable family questions. "We don't judge, Miss Granier. Everyone visits when they can." I thought about that answer all the way to my grandmother's room. That afternoon, my grandmother handed me a stack of bank statements, folded into thirds, tucked inside a paperback of Anne of Green Gables, the kind of thing memory care residents keep because the past is easier than the present. "Two of them, Brenda," she said, her finger surprisingly steady. "May of 2024 and October of 2024. $8,500 each. Cash. Chase Waverly Branch." I looked. Withdrawals. Signed with her name. But I didn't recognize the signature. "Grandma," I said, "do you want me to call Dad?" She reached across the blanket, her hand clamping around my wrist. Her grip was firm, stronger than I thought an 83-year-old dementia patient could manage. "Not yet," she said, "but keep the statements somewhere safe." I tucked them into my nurse's bag, in the pocket where I kept paperwork for patients close to the end. I didn't ask why. I already knew, but I didn't know I already knew. Not really. Not yet. Thanksgiving Day, November 27th, 2025. I drove up to Rosewood at 10 a.m. with a slice of pumpkin pie. My grandmother was in the community room, near the window, watching the parking lot. She wore her purple cardigan from 2019, her hair neatly combed. "2 lucid days in a row, Brenda," she said as soon as she saw me. "You know what that means." Oh, I knew. 6 years as a hospice nurse. 100 deaths. I'd learned to read the tells that families miss. Terminal lucidity is a gift, but it has an expiration date. When someone cloudy for months suddenly becomes sharp, remembering names, telling stories, asking questions, it usually means the body is preparing for the end. I sat down. "Put the pie between us." "Grandma," I said, "I'm not going to have that conversation today." She reached across and squeezed my hand. "You already had it," she said. "Last week. You know what to do now." She was right. A week earlier, Thursday, November 20th, she had done something that changed everything I understood about her. But I have to come back to that, because everything that followed hinged on that Thursday. If I tell you now, you won't feel the full weight of the Friday that came after. The next morning, Black Friday, I wasn't planning to visit her. I had a private hospice case at 11 a.m. But at 9:30, something pulled me back into my car. I can't explain it. I drove up Route 307, past the same tree line, past the closed county courthouse, back to Rosewood. She was in the community room again, purple cardigan, hair combed. She looked up as I walked in. "I wasn't sure you'd come today," she said. "Black Friday. Everyone is shopping." "I'm not everyone," I said. "No," she replied. "You're not." She reached into her cardigan pocket, took out 2 crumpled dollar bills, folded together, and pressed them into my palm. "Buy me a Willa's Wednesday," she said. "Just one. Cash. Don't say my name at the counter." I hesitated. "Grandma," I said, We agreed last week I'd use my own money. She closed my fingers around the bills. Today it needs to be mine, she said. Trust me. I put the $2 in my wallet. I kissed her forehead. She smelled like lavender. Then I drove to Bertelli's. Bertelli's Gas and Snack, open since 1968. Same green sign, fluorescent lights, peeling Formica counter with scratch-offs. Sal Bertelli, the owner's 60-year-old son, was at the register. Willa's Wednesday, please, I said. Cash. Just one. Sal pulled the ticket. I paid with the crumpled $2. I scratched it right there at the counter. I usually took them home. Maybe I sensed something. Maybe because Grandma had said, "Trust me," and I wanted to know now. 3 numbers matched, then 4, then 5. Then my eyes locked on the prize, $1,800,000. I read it 3 times. Sal was watching my face. He knew the tells, too. He'd sold lottery tickets since he was 17, but never won for more than $5,000. "Kid," he said, "put the ticket down. Don't fold it. Don't touch anything. Let me call retailer support." He picked up the black plastic phone, his voice shifting to the professional register gas station clerks use when the ATM breaks. While he was on the phone, his gaze dropped to my hand. My car keys lay on the counter. A small silver charm caught the light. A tiny bird. A sparrow. My grandmother gave it to me when I graduated nursing school in 2013. Sal's face changed. "Kid," he said, putting down the phone. "Kid, wait." He came around the counter. He was staring at the charm. "Where'd you get that bird?" "My grandmother," I said. "Wilhelmina Ashcroft?" The world tilted. "Yes," I said. He put both hands flat on the counter. He blinked. It felt like a long time. Then he opened the cooler, took out a Coke, and set it in front of me. "On the house," he said. "Your grandma bought me my first uniform, kid. 1974, I was 8. My mom was working the counter. My dad had left. Willa found the money out of her own pocket. She didn't tell my mother for a month. Said she just found extra fabric in the back." His eyes were wet. "You tell her Sal Bertelli says thank you. You tell her that today." I sat in my car in Bertelli's parking lot for a long time. The ticket was folded once in my wallet on the passenger seat. The engine was off. I picked up my phone. Found the contact I'd saved the previous Wednesday. I typed one line. "It's today. Kitchen. 15 minutes. The reply came back before I could set the phone down. "On my way. Back door." I finally started the car, drove the 15 minutes home to my small 2-bedroom off Vinola Road. The ticket was in my wallet, Sal's Coke unopened in the cup holder. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't think about anything except the sequence of moves I'd rehearsed for 8 days. You have to understand something. What was about to happen in my kitchen at 12:45 that afternoon? The notary, the form, the signature, the digital filing at 12:52. None of it was because I won the lottery. It was because of what my grandmother had done on Thursday, November 20th. That was the day I understood everything. 8 days before Black Friday, Colleen Farrow called me at 7 a.m. I was still asleep. My phone rang 3 times. "Now," Colleen said. Just that one word. She'd never said, "now," before, Brenda. "Call my granddaughter now." I canceled my noon patient, got in the car in scrubs, drove up Route 307 through a gray November morning, past the same tree line. I didn't stop for coffee. My grandmother was sitting up in bed when I walked into room 12. The music box was on her lap, resting on the quilt. She looked at me the way she used to look when I was a child and had done something right without being asked. "Close the door," she said. I closed it. "Sit down." I sat. She lifted the lid of the music box. Inside the walnut compartment, resting on the red felt lining I had cut and glued 4 years earlier, was a small black Sony digital recorder. A single green LED glowed. A thin black wrist strap coil beside it. "I told you I would keep something safe in here," she said. "I'm sorry it took 4 years." "Grandma," I whispered, "what did you record?" "Everything," she said. "And enough of them." She touched the recorder gently, the way you touch something you know you will miss. "There is one file," she said, 63 minutes long. I named it so you would know it was meant for you. Take the whole box. Take the recorder. Take everything. Everything is yours to decide now. "Grandma, this is your box. It was mine when I needed to keep something safe," she said. "Now you needed to keep yourself safe. Take it. She reached for the small canvas bag I always carried. Her hand was shaking. She folded the music box into it, tucking the recorder under tissue. Listen alone, she said. Not in this room. Not in their house. In your car if you have to. But listen. Today. She held my hand for a long time. When the day comes, and it will come faster than you think, you'll know exactly what to do. I sat in my car in the Rosewood parking lot with the recorder in my lap, headphones plugged into my phone. Dusk. The lot was almost empty, just a black pickup and an aide smoking. I pressed play. Her voice came through the headphones, clearer than I'd heard it in a year. My name is Wilhelmina Elizabeth Ashcroft. Today is August 15th, 2023. I am 82 years old. I am recording this because my son and his wife have been stealing from me, and I want my granddaughter Brenda to have proof when the day comes. Let me start with the accounts. She began listing them. Chase Waverly Branch, April 6th, 2021. $8,500 in cash. Signed with her name. But she said her son had done it. She had watched him practice her signature at her kitchen table in 2020 on a spare envelope, thinking she was asleep. 11 withdrawals over 4 years. $88,000 total. She had every date, every branch. She even had one teller's name, Grace at the Waverly branch, who had looked confused when my father presented the withdrawal slip, asked to see ID, then handed over the cash anyway because the signature matched. That is just the money, my grandmother continued. The visits are worse. She told me about August 14th, 2023. My sister Ashley came to Rosewood alone, carrying a folder from LegalZoom, pushing a pen into my grandmother's hand. Grandma, Ashley had said, Mom and Dad think it's better if the cabin comes to me directly. My grandmother refused. Ashley cried in front of her for 20 minutes. My grandmother held her ground. After she left, my grandmother said on the recording, I told Colleen at the front desk to keep the hallway camera on. Always. Anyone. Especially family. She told me about my father's first visit in 2022. He brought a durable power of attorney form from an online template. Asked her to sign it. She smiled, said she needed to read it in the morning light. That night, she photographed every page and hid the photos in an email draft she never sent. She told me about my mother's second-to-last visit, early 2024. My mother had gone through her jewelry box while my grandmother pretended to sleep. 2 of her 3 good pieces disappeared that week. A gold cross from her father, a pearl brooch. She never wore them, but she had photographed the box before my mother came and photographed it again after. She told me about the pain medication. My mother had asked the day nurse in spring 2024 to leave the small brown bottle of oxycodone on the nightstand instead of the locked cabinet because Willa gets confused and it comforts her to see it. My grandmother counted the pills every night before my mother visited. She counted them again after. She wrote the numbers down in a small black notebook that Doris Palmer would eventually hand to me. 12 tablets were missing over 3 visits. My grandmother had said nothing. She had let my mother believe she was too disoriented to keep track. Then she said the sentence that utterly broke me in that parking lot. I let them think I didn't know, Brenda, to protect you. Because I know how they'll come at you when the moment comes. And I know you. You would have started giving before I stopped being able to fight. This way, when I hand you this, I hand you the whole thing at once. And you'll know what to do. The recording ended with her humming half a bar of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. The same melody as the music box. I sat there for another 30 minutes before I could drive. Then I opened my notes app and typed 3 lines. Marcia Hendress on call. Nora Whitfield, Pennsylvania Lottery claims. Monday. Do not confront until Grandma is gone or until they cross a new line. The week between that recording and Thanksgiving was the quietest week of my life. On Monday, November 24th, on my lunch break, I drove to the Pennsylvania Lottery Claims office in downtown Scranton. I told the receptionist I was a hospice nurse asking a question for a patient's family. I met Nora Whitfield, a compliance officer with straight brown hair and the tired eyes of someone who processes other people's money. She explained the winner's statement of sole ownership, the second-page affidavit, the courtesy notification protocol for high-value prizes where family members were named. I wrote her extension in my phone, 219. On Tuesday, I met Marcia Hendress, a fellow hospice nurse turned mobile notary. I'd worked with her during the pandemic. I told her the whole thing. She listened, not interrupting once. Then she said, "Call me any time in the next 6 months. I will drop what I'm doing and be there in 30 minutes. Back door if you need it." On Wednesday, Marcia came to my kitchen table. We walked through the state's e-claim portal step by step using a test prize amount. She stamped a dummy form for practice. We closed the laptop. I made her coffee. She left through the back door on foot just to see if the route worked. If you are still with me, if this story is hitting you deep down, I want to hear it. Tell me in the comments. What word did your family use for you? Responsible? Strong? Fine? Sensible? Whatever it was, I want to see it typed out. I read them all. So, when I pulled into my driveway at 12:20 on Black Friday, November 28th, with a winning ticket worth $1.8 million folded in my wallet, I already had a plan. A plan for a fight I thought was still weeks away. The lottery wasn't what I had prepared for. I had prepared for the day my parents would drain the last of my grandmother's accounts. This was different. This was faster. But the plan still worked. Marcia pulled up at 12:30. She came through the back door, carrying a small black case and a Dell laptop. "Set the ticket down on the table," she said. "Show me the numbers. Then walk me through what you want." I walked her through it. She listened, opened her laptop. The Pennsylvania Lottery e-claim portal was already logged in from our practice 2 nights earlier. 2 pages, she said. You read each one out loud. I witness, then I stamp. Then I upload. Page 1 was routine. My full name, date of birth, address, the scratch-off serial number, prize amount, retailer, Bertelli's Gas and Snack. Page 2 was the affidavit. I read it aloud. I, Brenda Marie Granier, swear under penalty of perjury that I alone purchased the ticket-bearing serial number with my own funds, that I hold sole ownership, and that no verbal or written agreement exists conveying any portion of this prize to any third party. Marcia nodded. I kept reading. Parties with whom no third-party agreement exists include Clifford James Granier, Priscilla and Granier, Ashley Granier Howaren. Marcia made a small mark on her witness log. This affidavit becomes part of the public record of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I signed both pages. Marcia stamped both pages. Her blue ink seal, 4 centimeters wide, the Commonwealth seal in the center. She dated it, 12:45 p.m., November 28th, 2025. She scanned both pages with her phone, uploaded them. The confirmation email arrived in my inbox at 12:52 p.m. Preliminary claim received. File PL 25-1128B. Courtesy notification pending within 4 hours. She packed her kit, paused at the back door. Your grandmother would be proud, she said. She already is, I replied. She opened the door. By the way, she added, the courtesy notification usually goes out within an hour. You'll get an email when they call your father. She left through the back gate. I sat down at the kitchen table with a fresh cup of coffee, looking at the ticket, then the confirmation email on my phone. I checked the time, 12:55 p.m. The front doorbell rang at 1 p.m. exactly. Through the peephole, I saw my father, holding a chilled bottle of Sutter Home Cabernet and a manila folder with curling edges. My mother stood 1 step behind him, a canvas tote bag with 2 wine glasses visible. He didn't wait for me. He tried the knob. It was unlocked. He walked in, straight past me, past the couch, into the kitchen. He set the wine on the counter with a metallic clink, then slammed the folder onto the kitchen table. I've already told you what he said, what she said, what I did, but you need to see the folder. 8 pages, Cambria font, size 11, HP inkjet, a little smudged. The header, Agreement of Family Distribution. Below it, a makeshift logo in navy blue, Granier Family Trust, arranged around a shield my mother had probably designed on Canva that morning. Page 3, halfway down, beneficiary, Ashley Granier Howaren, $1,800,000. A signature block at the bottom of page 8, pre-signed by my father in blue ink. A blank line for my signature. No notary section. No stamps. No serial numbers. No mention of Pennsylvania. And in the footer of page 1, in tiny gray text, someone had forgotten to remove the words, template prepared with LegalZoom. I turned to page 2. Blank. Just blank paper. A placeholder. My mother watched my face. Don't sit there and act like you understand money, Brenda, she sneered. You spend all day with people who don't need it anymore. This is real life. This is a family that has been carrying you your whole life. You want to know what your sister did last week? She sold her wedding ring to buy Christmas presents for her kids. That's what real people do. I didn't answer. I set the folder back down, walked to the coffee maker, poured myself a fresh cup, slowly, evenly. I didn't offer them any. Sat back down, picked up my father's pen, a cross ballpoint, black barrel with gold trim, the pen my mother had given him for their 30th anniversary. He'd brought it specifically. He'd been carrying it in his shirt pocket. I signed page 1 on the signature line. I signed page 3 next to Ashley's beneficiary declaration. I signed page 8 next to my father's pre-signed signature. My handwriting was neat, even. I did not shake. I closed the folder, folded it in thirds, the same way Marcia had folded my real form 15 minutes earlier. I placed my palms flat on either side, and I slid it back across the table with both hands, like a good daughter. There, Dad, I said. All 8 pages. Are we good? My father read page 1, saw my signature under his. He smiled, the way he used to smile when I was 6, and had done exactly what I was told without arguing. That's my girl, he said. That is how family works. He turned to my mother. She was already opening the wine. She poured 2 glasses, poured a third, and slid it across the table to me. She lifted hers. To the family that stays together, she said. I picked up my glass. I did not drink. My father lifted his glass toward mine. And just as it was about to touch, his phone rang. Unknown caller. 717 area code. He didn't recognize the number. Probably the bank, he said to my mother, still smiling. Told you it would move fast. He tapped the speaker. Answered with his professional voice, the one he used as a floor manager at Sam's Club. Clifford Granier speaking. The voice on the other end was even, calm female. Mr. Granier, this is Nora Whitfield from the Pennsylvania Lottery Compliance Office. I am making a courtesy notification regarding your daughter's claim. Do you have a moment? My father's smile stayed on his face. It just stopped moving. Certainly, he said. Sir, Nora continued, we received a winner's statement of sole ownership under Ms. Brenda Granier's name alone, notarized at 12:45 this afternoon, and filed at 12:52. In the affidavit on the second page, she listed you as a party with whom no third-party agreement exists. Per state protocol, I am required to call each listed party. So I need to ask you directly, sir, do you dispute her sole ownership? Because I have you on the record now. The kitchen went very quiet. My mother's wine glass was halfway to her lips. It stopped. My father did not move. I'm sorry, he said. Can you repeat that? Nora repeated it slowly, word for word. She used the second page twice. She used sole ownership 3 times. My father lowered the phone, set it down next to the folder he'd slammed on the table 4 minutes earlier. His hand was shaking. I had never seen his hand shake before. Brenda, he said. His voice was thin. Brenda, what did you sign? I set my coffee cup on its saucer. The right one, Dad, I said. Half an hour before you got here. My mother lunged forward, grabbed the folder. She flipped to page 2. Blank. She flipped to page 8. Looked at my signature. Looked at his. Looked back at page 2. There was no state seal. No QR code. No timestamp. No serial number. Just Cambria size 11 on plain HP printer paper. Her face changed. The way faces change when someone watches a house burn down and realizes they left the door unlocked themselves. You lied to us, she said, her voice shaking. The venom was gone. Something else came up under it, softer and more desperate. Brenda, we are your parents. The Lord sees what you are doing. He probably does, Mom, I said. Do you? The wine glass slipped from my father's fingers. It hit the corner of the table, then the hardwood floor. It shattered into 6 large pieces. A puddle of Cabernet spread in the shape of nothing in particular. I could smell it. Wine, coffee, my father's aftershave, and the faint chemical smell of my mother's fresh printer ink from a folder that meant absolutely nothing. Nora Whitfield was still on the line. Sir, she said from the speaker. Sir, are you there? Do you dispute the claim? My father stared at the phone. He did not answer. I'll take that as a no, Nora said politely. The file will be finalized on Monday morning. If either you or your wife wishes to contest, you have 30 days from today's date to file with the compliance office. Thank you for your time, Mr. Granier. Have a lovely holiday weekend. She hung up. My father stood up slowly, his chair scraping against the tile. He looked at me. He looked at the wine on the floor. He looked at the folder. He did not pick it up. He walked out of my kitchen. He did not stop at the front door. He walked straight to his car. My mother stared at me for what felt like a very long time. Then she stood up, picked up her tote bag, and followed him. She left the folder on the table. She left the 2 full wine glasses. She left the shattered one on the floor. The front door closed behind her. The house went quiet again. I sat there for a long time. Then I stood up, got the broom from the pantry, swept up the glass. I did not cry. If your parents ever told you that you owed them for existing, just leave a single word in the comments. Anything. I will be reading them tonight. The next morning was Saturday. Ashley did not call first. She showed up at 9:15 a.m. with all 3 of her kids, and Ronnie standing behind her on my front porch. She was wearing an Amazon Prime hoodie. Ronnie, a Yankees hat despite it being 31 degrees. I opened the door because I could see the kids. Tyler is 7, Maddie is 4, Jasper is 2. Tyler looked confused. Maddie chewed on a scarf. Jasper was asleep on Ronnie's shoulder. Bren, we need to talk, Ashley said, already crying. Dad called last night. He told me everything. Come in, I said. The kids can have juice. You and Ronnie stay in the kitchen. I made 3 juice boxes, put them in front of the kids at the coffee table with a stack of picture books. I closed the sliding door between the living room and the kitchen. I sat down. Ashley started talking before I even sat. You have never had to feed a family, Brenda, she snapped. You wouldn't understand. Ronnie is between jobs. The credit cards are at $46,000. The mortgage is 2 months behind. Do you know what it is like to explain to a 7-year-old why the internet got shut off? I did not answer. Grandma's cabin should go to me and the kids, obviously. It is more space than you need. And Mom said... She stopped. What did Mom say? I asked. She said Grandma had already said the cabin was ours, Mom and Dad's, so of course it would come to me. Because I have the kids. I did not correct her. I did not tell her that Grandma had never said any such thing. I did not tell her that our grandmother had already deeded the cabin to me in a will signed in 2019, and the only way our parents could have believed the cabin was theirs was if our grandmother had told them a specific lie on purpose to see what they would do when they thought they had won. I let her keep talking. Ronnie stood in the corner of the kitchen the whole time, silent. He didn't say a word until Ashley ran out of steam and started gathering the kids. Then, at the doorway, he stopped. He didn't look at me directly. Just make sure nothing happens to that money before Monday, sis, he said. Would be a shame if something did. He walked out. I locked the front door behind them. Checked it twice. Ronnie doesn't make threats. He drops them like keys and lets you decide whether you pick them up. I did not pick it up. I called my next-door neighbor, Delaney Rowe, an ICU nurse I'd worked with at Geisinger. I asked her to sit at my kitchen table for the rest of the afternoon. She did. She brought her dog and a bottle of ginger ale. We didn't talk about my family. We watched a very old cooking show, and she cut up a Granny Smith apple, sharing it with me. At 4 p.m., she put her hand on top of mine on the table and said, "You are safe here." I believed her. On Sunday, November 30th, I drove to Rosewood. My grandmother was in and out. She recognized me for a while, then drifted, then came back. She held my hand for a long time. Her grip was weaker than it had been on Thursday. That's how I knew. You listened, she said twice. Just that. I sat with her until visiting hours ended. Then I drove home. She died before dawn on Thursday, December 4th. Colleen called me at 3:22 a.m. Her voice was gentle, the way people who work with the dying learn to make their voices gentle. She is asking for you, Brenda. Come now. I drove up Route 307 in the dark. The road was empty. A thin fog hung low over the fields. My headlights cut through it. I did not turn on the radio. I did not cry. She was still with us when I arrived. In bed, eyes closed, but her hand was reaching for the space beside her, the way people who know death is coming reach for whatever might be there. I sat down. I took her hand. She opened her eyes. You came, she said. You listened. You are the one who listened. Grandma, I said, I am here. She smiled. A very small smile. It stayed on her face for maybe 8 seconds. Then she closed her eyes. She stopped breathing just before sunrise. Colleen came in a few minutes later, crying. She stayed with me while I sat next to my grandmother for a long time, until the morning shift arrived and the machines were quiet. Before I left, Colleen handed me a small USB drive in a plastic case. She asked me to give you this at the end, she said. It is 26 minutes of hallway 2, August 14th, 2023. Your sister brought a document. Your grandmother refused to sign. I logged it in an incident report on the same day. The report number is on the drive. I put the USB in my coat pocket. Doris Palmer, my grandmother's roommate of 4 years, knocked on the door as I was leaving. Doris, 82, wore the same pale blue cardigan every day. She held out a small black moleskine notebook. She wrote things down when she was clear, Doris said. Names, dates, what people said when they thought I couldn't hear. I don't hear well, but I hear enough. Take this. I took the notebook, held it against my chest. Doris, I said, why now? Because she asked me to give it to you when she couldn't anymore, Doris said. You are the one who listened. That is what she called you. I signed the visitor log on my way out. In the timeout column, I wrote 6:03 a.m. In the purpose column, I wrote one word, granddaughter. I did not write anything else. The funeral was on Saturday, December 6th, at Snyder Chrisman Funeral Home in Waverly. 24 people came. My grandmother's neighbor from before the memory care years. A woman named Ruth from her church in the 70s. Sal Bertelli. Colleen. Doris, in a wheelchair, in her pale blue cardigan. Delaney Rowe. Marcia Hendress. Terrence O'Brien, my grandmother's attorney. The rest were people I didn't recognize, but who had loved her. My father and mother came. Ashley did not. She sent a text saying the kids were sick. I gave the eulogy. It was 4 sentences long. My grandmother lived 84 years. She was quiet for most of them, not because she had nothing to say, but because she was waiting for the right person to listen. She let me be that person. I will spend the rest of my life earning it. I stepped down. My father tried to catch my elbow. I turned my face away. I sat between Delaney and Marcia. I did not look at my parents for the rest of the service. At the graveside, when the ceremony ended and most mourners had left, Sal Bertelli walked up to me. He held a small paper bag. Something I found in my mother's attic this summer, he said. I was going to bring it up here to see her. Never got the chance. He pressed the bag into my hand and walked away. Inside was a small black and white photograph in a cardboard frame. My grandmother, 33 years old, standing behind the counter at Bertelli's in 1974, in a striped apron, holding a broom. She was smiling. It was the smile of a woman who had made it through another winter. I looked at the photograph for a long time. Then I put it back in the bag and into my coat pocket next to Doris's notebook. My father was standing about 30 feet away, next to the empty hearse, watching. I didn't know how long. He took one step toward me. Then he stopped. He looked at Sal walking away, at the small brown paper bag in my hand, at the people around the grave who had known my grandmother in a way he never had. He turned around and got into his car. He did not come back to the small reception at the funeral home. I heard later from Delaney that my mother waited for him in the parking lot for a full hour before he came to pick her up. Delaney had watched her through the window. She said my mother didn't check her phone once. She just stood there. On Monday, December 8th, I drove to Terrence O'Brien's office in downtown Scranton for the reading of the will. Terrence had drafted it in 2019 when my grandmother first moved to Rosewood. She had never changed it. He said so at the beginning. The will was 22 pages. The cabin in the Poconos, 2 bedrooms on Lake Wallenpaupack, purchased by my grandmother in 1979 for $11,000, now valued at $220,000, was left to me. The savings, $114,000 in a Charles Schwab account, was left to me. The music box was left to me. A small trust account, which had once held roughly $100,000 but was now showing a balance of 0, was to be divided equally among my parents, Ashley and me. 4 ways. 25% each of 0. Terrence looked over his reading glasses at my father. Your mother instructed me to include page 17, he said. She told me you would want to hear it. My father did not move. Terrence turned to page 17 and read. Note from the testator, dated August 15th, 2023. To my son, Clifford, if you are hearing this read aloud, it means I have died and my will has been opened in front of you. I want you to know something. 2 years ago, I told you Brenda was not in my will. I told you the cabin would be split evenly among the 3 of you. I told you the savings would be divided the same way. That was a lie. I said it so I could see what you would do. I have my answer now. The room was absolutely silent. My mother stood up, walked to the window. She did not turn around. My father read page 17 twice. He did not say anything. I signed the executive documents. I left. On Tuesday, December 9th, I emailed the USB from Rosewood to my father, my mother, and Ashley. The subject line, "Please watch attached before contacting me." The body was 2 sentences. Attached is 26 minutes of hallway footage from Rosewood, dated August 14th, 2023. My grandmother asked for it to be preserved and shared when the time came. 3 hours later, Ashley called. I did not answer. She called 11 more times over the next 2 days. On Thursday, December 11th, I sent one last email. No subject line. 3 sentences. You have taken from me for 35 years, and from her for 4. I am done. Do not call. Do not visit. Do not send holiday cards. If you need medical care and cannot find anyone else, I will help. As a nurse, not as your daughter. That is the only door left open. There was no reply. Not from any of them. I did not need one. Christmas Eve was harder than I thought it would be. I didn't go to my parents' house. I didn't go to Ashley's. I didn't go anywhere. I opened a can of tomato soup and sat on my couch with my grandmother's moleskine notebook. I read the whole thing straight through, front to back, in one sitting. It took 2 hours. It was the closest thing to spending Christmas with her that I could manage. On Christmas morning, Delaney Rowe knocked on my back door with 2 mugs of coffee and a plate of cinnamon rolls she had made at 4 a.m. because she couldn't sleep. She didn't say anything about my family. She didn't ask how I was. She just sat down at the kitchen table, unfolded the newspaper, and we read the crossword together for an hour. Some people give you their attention. Some people give you their silence. Both are gifts if the person is the right one. In January, an investigator from the Pennsylvania Attorney General's Office of Elder Justice called me. Colleen Farrow had filed a report the day after my grandmother's funeral. Colleen had documented everything for years. The incident with Ashley in August 2023, the changes in my grandmother's demeanor after visits from my father, the withdrawals my grandmother had reported to her privately. The investigator wanted the 63-minute recording. I sent it. I sent the moleskine notebook, scanned page by page. I sent the bank statements from the Anne of Green Gables paperback. Nothing dramatic happened for a while. In February, I got a letter from the same investigator. My parents had been offered a choice: pay $88,000 in restitution to my grandmother's estate, of which I was the sole heir, or face criminal charges for elder financial exploitation. They chose restitution. They took out a home equity loan against the house I grew up in. The check arrived at Terrence's office on March 3, 2026. I did not deposit it. I endorsed it and sent it directly to Rosewood Memory Care, marked in the memo line, the Willa Ashcroft Room Endowment. In late March, Ashley left my parents. She sent me one email. It was long, full of things she thought I wanted to hear. In the middle of it, she wrote one sentence that was probably true. I found out Mom lied to me about the cabin. She said Grandma had promised it to us. She said it for years. She knew there was no promise. She just wanted me to believe there was, so I would help them fight you. I did not reply. Ashley didn't need a reply from me. She needed a therapist. I hope she found one. My father lost his volunteer position on the church board in April. My mother stopped teaching piano lessons in her home. I heard both things secondhand from Kenny at the church, the man who had originally called my parents about my WBRE News feed on Black Friday. Kenny, without prompting, called me to tell me he had misjudged people he had known for 30 years, and that he was sorry, and that if I ever needed anything from a neighbor, his door was open. I thanked him. I didn't need anything from a neighbor. I had a neighbor already. I moved the music box into the cabin in the Poconos in early May. The lake was still cold. The dogwood was starting to bloom around the front porch. I sat on the porch with a cup of coffee, wound the music box 3 times, and listened to Somewhere Over the Rainbow all the way through, twice before putting it away. I built a shelf for it in the cabin's small guest bedroom. I put Sal's photograph next to it. My grandmother, 33 years old, in the striped apron, smiling at a camera in 1974. On Friday, May 22nd, 2026, Rosewood Memory Care held a small ceremony for the opening of the Willa Ashcroft room. The room used to be a storage closet on the second floor. Colleen had it cleared out over the winter. The endowment fund I had set up in March paid for the renovations. A soft rug, 3 armchairs, a small upright piano donated by a music school, and a glass display case in the corner. I brought the music box up from the cabin the day before. I put Sal's framed photograph on the wall beside the display case. 43 people came to the ceremony. Colleen, Doris, in her wheelchair, wearing a new pale blue cardigan someone had bought her. Sal Bertelli with his wife. Marcia Hendris. Delaney Rowe. Terrence O'Brien. Nora Whitfield, quietly in the back. And a group of Rosewood residents, some lucid, some not, sitting in chairs in a rough half-circle around the piano. I said very little. I had asked the music school volunteer to play Somewhere Over the Rainbow on the piano. When she finished, I said one thing. My grandmother once told me something. She said, "Some of us keep quiet, not because we have nothing to say, but because we're waiting for the right person to listen." She was mine. This room is so no one else has to wait as long as she did. I stepped back. 3 children from the daycare next door had wandered in through the propped-open door, drawn by the piano. One of them, a little girl maybe 5 years old, walked up to the display case and looked at the music box for a long time. She tapped the glass, very gently. Doris rolled her wheelchair over and lifted the box out of the case. She wound it 3 times. She set it down on the rug in the middle of the room, and she let the little girl sit next to it, and the melody started to play. I stood in the doorway and watched. I did not step forward. I did not say anything else. I have thought a lot, over the last 6 months, about what my grandmother did. She was 82 years old when she started that recording. She was already forgetting the day of the week half the time. But every lucid afternoon for 4 years, she planned. She kept her mouth shut. She sat with people who were stealing from her. And she smiled at them. And she let them believe she didn't know. Because she knew who I was. She knew that if she told me too early, I would have started giving. She knew I was the responsible one. And she knew that my responsibility had been used against me my entire life. So she waited. She waited until she was almost gone. And then she handed me a music box. And she handed me 63 minutes of the truth. And she said, "Now you know what to do." And I did. I still keep the small Silverbird charm on my keys. I still drive up Route 307 sometimes, even though I don't have to anymore. There's a good coffee shop just outside Waverly, and the light in the afternoon is soft on that road. And sometimes I sit in the parking lot with a cup of coffee, and I remember the woman who was quiet for 84 years, and I say her name out loud. Wilhelmina Elizabeth Ashcroft. Names matter. She was mine, and she got heard. If you have made it this far, I want you to know one thing. It is not too late to become the person who listens. To your grandmother, to your aunt, to the coworker no one talks to at lunch, to yourself, especially to yourself. My grandmother waited 84 years for someone to sit down and hear her. Do not make anyone wait that long if you can help it. Tell me the name of the person in your life who has been quiet too long. Just the name. Sometimes being named is the beginning of being heard.